A waitress took in two starving, frozen boys. Next day, a CEO millionaire appeared and boldly declared her his wife before everyone watching. This definitely sounds surreal, but don't be in a hurry. Give this story a chance. Before we dive into this incredible journey, I'd love to know, where in the world are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. And if you enjoy stories about love, family, and second chances, hit that subscribe button so you never miss our next tale. Now, let's enjoy this incredible story together. The snow had been falling for 4 hours straight, turning Manhattan into a frozen maze of white. Ava Jackson pressed her forehead against the cold window of Rodney's diner, watching the blizzard swallow everything in its path. At 26, she'd seen plenty of New York winters, but this one felt different, meaner, the kind that made people disappear. She was about to turn away when she saw them. Two small figures stumbling through the snowdrifts, their thin jackets doing nothing against the brutal wind. Children. Her heart lurched. Ava didn't think. She burst through the diner's door, the cold hitting her like a slap. "Hey, over here!" she waved frantically, and the smaller boy spotted her first. His face was blue with cold, his lips trembling so hard he couldn't speak. She grabbed them both and pulled them inside. The warmth of the diner made them gasp. Ava wrapped them in every spare apron and towel she could find, her hands shaking as she turned up the heat. The older boy couldn't have been more than 7. His little brother maybe 5. Both were soaked through, their teeth chattering violently. "Where are your parents?" Ava asked gently, kneeling to their level. The older boy just shook his head, his hazel eyes enormous in his pale face. She didn't push. First things first, she needed to get them warm and fed. 20 minutes later, both boys were wrapped in blankets, sitting in the corner booth with steaming hot chocolate and grilled cheese sandwiches. The younger one had finally stopped shivering enough to eat, shoving the food into his mouth like he hadn't eaten in days. Ava's stomach twisted. Maybe he hadn't. "I'm Ava," she said softly. "What are your names?" The older boy looked up with those serious hazel eyes. "I'm Lucas. This is Mason. Thank you for helping us." His voice was so formal, so controlled for a child, it broke her heart. "Where do you live, sweetheart?" Lucas's jaw tightened. He looked away, out the window at the storm. "We don't have anywhere," he said finally, barely above a whisper. "Not anymore." Ava felt something crack open in her chest. She'd been alone, too, once. She knew how it felt to be cold and hungry, with nowhere to go. "Well, you do now," she said firmly. She had no idea what she was getting into. "Tonight, you're staying with me." The diner was empty, except for them. No one was crazy enough to venture out in this weather. Ava called her boss, who told her to close up early and stay safe. She gathered the boys, made sure they were bundled up properly, and led them to her beat-up Honda in the parking lot. Her apartment in Brooklyn was small, barely more than a studio, but it was warm and dry and safe. The boys stood in the doorway, uncertain, until Ava smiled and ushered them inside. She gave them her bed, made them more hot food, and sat with them until they fell asleep, their small bodies finally relaxed after hours of tension. Ava stayed awake most of the night, watching them sleep and wondering what she'd gotten herself into. She should call Child Protective Services in the morning. These boys needed help she couldn't provide. But every time she thought about making that call, something stopped her. They looked so peaceful now, so safe. She couldn't bear to wake them to more uncertainty. She had no idea this moment would change everything. The snow had started falling around 3 that afternoon, just as the lunch rush at Rodney's diner was winding down. Ava had been wiping down the counter for the third time, her muscles aching from a double shift. She'd been on her feet since 6 in the morning, serving coffee and eggs to construction workers, taxi drivers, and office workers grabbing a quick bite. "You should head out soon," Rodney had called from the kitchen, his gruff voice carrying concern. "Weatherman says it's gonna get bad." By 5 o'clock, the regulars had cleared out. The snow was falling harder now, transforming the Manhattan streets into something from a winter postcard. Beautiful. If you didn't have to be out in it. Ava moved through the familiar routine of closing, her mind drifting to the anatomy exam she had Monday. She still needed to study the cardiovascular system. That's when she saw them. 2 small figures, stumbling through the snow. Children, alone. Ava's heart stopped. She didn't hesitate. She threw open the diner door and ran into the storm. The cold was a physical blow. Snow stung her face. Wind tore at her clothes. "Hey!" she shouted over the howling wind. "Come here!" The older boy spotted her. His face was deathly pale. Lips blue. He tried to steer his little brother toward the diner, but both of them were shaking so hard they could barely walk. Ava reached them in seconds. Up close, she could see they were even younger than she'd thought. 7, maybe 8 for the older one. 5 at most for the little guy. Both wore thin jackets, completely inadequate for this weather. No hats, no gloves. Their sneakers were soaked through. "Come on, babies, come with me," Ava said, wrapping an arm around each of them. She half carried, half dragged them toward the diner's entrance. The warmth hit them like a wall. Both boys gasped, then started shaking even harder as their bodies tried to adjust. Ava's nursing training kicked in. Hypothermia. She needed to warm them gradually, get them dry, check for frostbite. "Rodney," she called, "I need towels, and blankets if you have them." Rodney emerged from the kitchen, his eyes widening when he saw the boys. "Jesus Christ, where did they come from?" "I don't know. Just please, towels." Rodney disappeared and returned with an armful of clean kitchen towels. Ava began stripping off the boys' wet jackets, their soaked shoes and socks. The older boy's fingers were white at the tips. The younger one couldn't stop his teeth from chattering. "It's okay," Ava murmured, wrapping them in towels, rubbing their arms and legs to stimulate circulation. "You're safe now. You're gonna be okay." She cranked the heat up as high as it would go. Rodney brought emergency blankets from his car, and Ava wrapped both boys up, setting them in the corner booth farthest from the door. "I'm making hot chocolate," Rodney announced, heading back to the kitchen. He might act tough, but Ava knew he had a soft heart. She knelt in front of the boys, meeting their eyes. The older one watched her with a gaze too serious for his age. The younger one looked terrified. "Hi," Ava said softly. "I'm Ava. Can you tell me your names?" The older boy opened his mouth, but his jaw was shaking too hard to form words. He tried again. "Lucas," he finally managed. This is M. Mason." "Lucas and Mason," Ava repeated, smiling warmly. "Those are great names." Rodney brought out 2 mugs of hot chocolate. Not too hot, perfect temperature. "And I'm making grilled cheese," he announced. "Extra cheese, the way kids like it." They drank slowly, color gradually, returning to their faces. By the time Rodney brought out the sandwiches, they'd stopped shaking. Mason grabbed his sandwich and devoured it like he was starving. Lucas ate more slowly, but Ava noticed he finished every bite. "When did you last eat?" she asked gently. Mason looked at Lucas, who answered, "Yesterday. Maybe. I don't remember. Yesterday." Ava's heart clenched. These babies had been without food for a day, maybe longer. "Lucas, sweetheart, I need you to tell me the truth. Where are your parents?" Lucas's eyes filled with tears, which he quickly blinked away. "We don't know where our dad is. We were with someone. She was supposed to watch us, but she left, and we got scared and we went to look for Dad, but we couldn't find the building, and then it started snowing, and his voice broke." Mason started crying, quiet tears running down his cheeks. "I want my dad," he whispered. Ava moved to sit next to them in the booth, putting an arm around each boy. "It's okay. We're going to figure this out. But first, you need to get warm and rest. Okay? Are you going to send us away?" Lucas asked, his voice small and frightened. "To people we don't know?" The question hit Ava hard. She looked at this brave little boy, trying so hard to hold it together, at his baby brother crying softly, and made a decision that would change her life. "No," she said firmly. "Not tonight. Tonight, you're staying with me. We'll figure out the rest tomorrow." The relief on Lucas's face was almost painful to see. "Thank you," he whispered. "Thank you so much." By 6 o'clock, the storm had intensified. Rodney offered to drive them in his truck, and after an hour of crawling through buried streets, they arrived at Ava's Brooklyn apartment. She carried Mason, he was light as a feather, while Lucas climbed the stairs beside her. When she unlocked her door and flipped on the lights, she saw her tiny studio through their eyes. Small, shabby, but clean and warm. "It's not much," she said, suddenly self-conscious. "It's nice," Lucas said quietly, and he meant it. She got them settled on her bed, heated up soup, and after they ate, she ran a warm bath and helped them clean up. Their clothes were ruined. She gave them t-shirts from her drawer to sleep in. On Mason, her shirt came down to his ankles like a dress. He giggled for the first time, and the sound made Ava's heart swell. She tucked them into her bed, pulling the covers up to their chins. "Get some sleep. You're safe here. I promise." "Where will you sleep?" Lucas asked, his eyes already drooping. "On the couch. I'll be right here, if you need me." End quote. My work, with her, with him. "Ava?" Mason's small voice in the darkness. "Yes, honey? Thank you for saving us." Ava's eyes burned with tears. "You're welcome, baby. Now sleep." She sat on the edge of the bed until both boys were breathing deeply, then moved to her couch. She should call someone, the police, child services, someone official. But when she looked at them sleeping peacefully, she couldn't do it. Not tonight. Outside, the snow continued to fall. Inside Ava's small apartment, 3 people who'd been strangers that morning slept, their lives now impossibly intertwined. Ava woke to pounding on her door. She jerked upright on the couch, disoriented. The clock read 6:47 a.m. The pounding came again, urgent and desperate. "Open up, please. Are they in there? Are my sons in there?" Ava scrambled to her feet. Through the peephole, she saw a man in an expensive dark coat, his breath fogging in the cold hallway. Tall, broad-shouldered, with a face carved from stone. Even through the distorted view, she could tell he was frantic. "Who are you?" Ava called through the door. "Nathaniel Hayes. My sons Lucas and Mason, the owner of Rodney's Diner, told me they might be here. Please. I've been searching all night. Are they safe? Lucas. Mason. The desperation in his voice was real. Ava kept the chain lock engaged and opened the door a crack. The man had the same hazel eyes as Lucas, the same face shape. This was their father. They're here, Ava said. They're safe. The man made a sound that might have been a sob. Thank God. Please let me see them. Before Ava could respond, a small voice came from behind her. Dad? Lucas stood in the middle of her living room, Mason peeking out from behind him. The older boy's face was relief, mixed with apprehension. Lucas, the man at the door said, his voice breaking. Oh, thank God. Let me in, please. Ava looked at Lucas, whose eyes had filled with tears. He nodded. She unlocked the chain and stepped back. Nathaniel Hayes strode in and immediately dropped to his knees, pulling both boys into his arms. He was shaking. This powerful, expensive-looking man was trembling as he held his sons. I'm sorry, he was saying, his voice rough. I'm so sorry. I looked everywhere. I thought. He broke off, pressing his face into Lucas's hair. I thought I'd lost you. Mason started crying, burying his face in his father's shoulder. Lucas just held on tight, his small hands fisting in his father's coat. Ava stood by awkwardly, feeling like an intruder in her own apartment. Finally, Nathaniel looked up at her, and she got her first real look at his face. Mid-30s, sharp features, hazel eyes, handsome in a harsh, refined way. You saved them, he said simply. How can I ever thank you? Ava shrugged, self-conscious in her old pajamas. Anyone would have done the same. No. Nathaniel stood, keeping one hand on Lucas's shoulder. Not anyone. Most people would have called the authorities. You took them into your home. You kept them safe. He paused. I owe you everything. You don't owe me anything, Ava said quietly. I'm just glad they're okay. But I have to ask, where were you? Why were they alone in that storm? Nathaniel's face hardened. There was a misunderstanding with my staff. I was in meetings in Midtown. My phone died. And by the time I realized something was wrong, he stopped, his hands clenching. It doesn't matter. It won't happen again. The lady left us, Mason said, his voice muffled. She got a phone call and said she had to go. Told us to stay in the apartment, but we got scared. Nathaniel's expression went ice cold. What lady? Mrs. Peterson? Lucas nodded. She said it was an emergency. She'd be right back. But she didn't come back, and it got dark, and we didn't know what to do. She left them? Ava's voice was incredulous. Just left them? Apparently. Nathaniel's voice was deadly quiet. And that person no longer works for me. Ever. There was something in his tone that made Ava shiver. This was a man used to getting his way. It should have put her off. Instead, she found it reassuring. These boys would be protected. Dad, Ava made us hot chocolate, Mason said, tugging on Nathaniel's coat, and grilled cheese, and let us sleep in her bed. Nathaniel's eyes moved to Ava, something softening in his expression. Did she? She was really nice, Lucas added. She didn't ask a lot of questions. She just helped us. Nathaniel studied Ava for a long moment. Have you eaten breakfast? I'd like to hear the whole story. And properly thank you. Ava glanced at her small kitchen. I was going to make pancakes. There's enough for everyone. Pancakes! Mason's face lit up. Dad, can we stay? Please? Nathaniel looked around Ava's tiny apartment, then at his sons. At Ava, he nodded. We'd love to stay for pancakes. They crowded around Ava's small kitchen table, Nathaniel looking impossibly out of place in his tailored coat and designer shoes. Ava mixed pancake batter while the boys chattered, telling their father about the storm, about Ava finding them, about Rodney's hot chocolate. "You work at Rodney's diner?" Nathaniel asked. "Yeah, have been for 3 years. Pays for nursing school." She glanced at him. "Community college. I'm graduating in a few months." "That's impressive. Working full-time and going to school." Ava shrugged. "It's what you do when you don't have other options. No family to help? No family, period. I grew up in foster care, aged out when I was 18. She said it matter-of-factly, without self-pity. Nathaniel's expression shifted. Something like understanding crossing his face. "That must have been difficult." "It was what it was. Made me who I am." She plated the pancakes and brought them to the table. The boys attacked them enthusiastically. Nathaniel ate more slowly, but finished every bite. "These are delicious," he said. "Thank you. They're just pancakes." "Ava wants to be a nurse," Lucas announced. "She's studying people's hearts." "Cardiovascular system," Ava corrected with a smile. "I have an exam Monday. You'll pass," Lucas said with certainty. "You're smart, I can tell." Ava's throat tightened at the simple confidence in his voice. "Thank you, honey." When the boys finished and ran off to look at Ava's books, Nathaniel turned to her. "Can we talk?" "About what happened?" Ava nodded, pouring them both coffee. Nathaniel wrapped his hands around the mug. "Their mother, my wife, Sarah, died 3 years ago. Car accident. Sudden, senseless, devastating." His voice was controlled. "I hired Mrs. Peterson 6 months ago. She came with excellent references. The boys liked her. But yesterday I had meetings in Midtown. My phone died around 3. Mrs. Peterson was supposed to keep the boys at my penthouse until I got home at 7. When I arrived, and they weren't there." He stopped, his jaw clenching. "I've never been so terrified." "She really just left them?" "According to the boys, yes. Some personal emergency. She promised to be right back. When she didn't return, they panicked and tried to find me. They got lost. Then the storm hit. My God, I searched all night. The police found Mrs. Peterson around midnight. Her sister was in a car accident. She claims she tried to call but couldn't get through. She thought she'd only be gone an hour." Nathaniel's eyes were hard. "None of that excuses leaving 2 children alone." Ava reached across the table and touched his hand. "They're safe. That's what matters." Nathaniel looked down at her hand on his, then up at her face. "Because of you! Ava, you saved my children's lives. That storm if you hadn't found them. But I did find them. And I'd do it again." "Why?" "You didn't know them." Ava thought about it. "I know what it's like to be scared and alone, to need someone and have no one there. I couldn't do that to them." Nathaniel studied her with intense eyes. "You're remarkable." Ava felt heat rise in her cheeks. "I'm really not. I'm just a waitress trying to get through nursing school." "You're so much more than that." His hand turned, threading his fingers through hers. The touch sent electricity through her. "I meant what I said. I owe you everything. If you ever need anything, call me." He pressed a business card into her other hand. "Nathaniel Hayes, CEO, Hayes Industries." "I don't need anything," she said, "but thank you." "Nevertheless." His eyes held hers. "I always pay my debts, Ava Jackson. Always. I pay my debts." Then they were gone. leaving Ava with a business card and the distinct feeling that her life had just changed forever. The diner was packed the next day, everyone wanting to talk about the storm. Ava served coffee and pancakes and didn't mention the two boys or their wealthy father. She was wiping down the counter when the door chimed. Ava looked up and froze. Nathaniel Hayes stood in the doorway in an impeccable charcoal suit, completely out of place, every head turned to stare. He walked straight to Ava, his eyes locked on hers. The diner fell silent. Nathaniel stopped in front of her and took her hand. "Ava Jackson," he said, his voice carrying through the silent diner. "You saved my sons. You took them into your home when they had nowhere else to go. You kept them warm and fed and safe." He paused. "There's only one way I can properly thank you for that." Ava's heart was pounding. "Marry me," Nathaniel said. The diner erupted. Someone dropped a coffee cup. Ava just stared at him. "What?" "Marry me," Nathaniel repeated. "Be my wife. Let me take care of you the way you took care of my sons." Ava yanked her hand back. "Are you insane? Then get to know me." He leaned forward. "I'm a good father. I'm loyal. I'm wealthy enough that you'd never have to worry about money again. You could finish your nursing degree. You could do anything you wanted." He searched her eyes. "All I'm asking is that you give me a chance to repay the debt I owe you." "This is crazy," she whispered. "Yes," Nathaniel agreed. "But sometimes the craziest things make the most sense." He placed a card on the counter with his address. "I'm having a dinner tomorrow night. Come meet my family. See where the boys live. Then decide." He turned and walked out. The diner exploded with conversation. Ava just stood there, staring at the card, wondering what on earth she was supposed to do. The rest of her shift passed in a blur. Every customer wanted to know about Nathaniel Hayes. Was she really going to marry him? By the time her shift ended, she'd made a decision. She was going to that dinner, not because she was considering his proposal, but because she wanted to see the boys again. That was all. Ava drove home and was climbing the stairs when a voice stopped her. "Miss Jackson?" A woman in her 60s stood in the hallway, elegant in a wool coat. She had Nathaniel's eyes. "I'm Margaret Hayes, Nathaniel's mother. May we talk?" Ava's heart sank. "Here it comes," she thought. The payoff scene. She unlocked her door. "I suppose you'd better come in." Margaret sat on Ava's couch with grace. "You saved my grandsons. Nathaniel told me everything. I came to thank you." Ava blinked. That wasn't what she'd expected. "He also told me he asked you to marry him." There it was. "He did. In front of half the diner." Margaret smiled. "That sounds like Nathaniel. When he decides something, he goes all in." She leaned forward. "But I imagine you're confused, frightened. A strange man proposing out of nowhere." "It is insane," Ava said. "Yes, but let me tell you something about my son. When Sarah died 3 years ago, Nathaniel was devastated. He threw himself into work, into being a father, into just surviving." She paused. "He hasn't looked at another woman since. Until you." Ava's throat tightened. "He doesn't know me. He knows enough. He knows you risked yourself to save his children. He knows you're studying nursing while working full-time. He knows you're kind and brave and selfless." Margaret's gaze was steady. "For Nathaniel, that's everything. Marriage is more than gratitude." "You're right, which is why I'm here." Margaret pulled out an envelope. "This is an invitation to dinner tomorrow night. From me. Come meet the family. Have a meal with no pressure, no proposals, just dinner. She set it on the coffee table. And, if you never want to see us again after that, we'll respect it. Will Nathaniel be there? Of course, but I'll make sure he behaves. She stood. Ava, my grandsons haven't stopped talking about you. Whatever you decide about Nathaniel's proposal, please don't let it stop you from staying in those boys' lives. They need someone like you. Then she was gone. Ava picked up the envelope, turning it over. The paper was heavy, expensive. She should throw it away, should forget about Nathaniel Hayes and his impossible proposal. But when she looked at that invitation, all she could see was Lucas's serious face and Mason's smile and Nathaniel's hazel eyes. What if she said yes? Ava spent the next day in a panic about what to wear. Finally, she settled on her one decent dress and hoped it would be enough. At 7 p.m., she pulled up to the address and almost drove away. The Hayes home wasn't a house. It was a penthouse, the entire top floor of a luxury building overlooking Central Park. Then the door opened and Mason came racing out. Ava, you came. He grabbed her hand and pulled her inside. Ava's anxiety vanished when she saw the penthouse. Yes, it was huge and expensive, but it also looked like a home. Toys scattered across the floor, drawings on the walls, a golden retriever bounding up to greet her. That's Buddy, Mason explained. He's supposed to stay in certain rooms, but he never does. Nathaniel appeared, casual in jeans and a sweater, still devastating. Thank you for coming. Your mother invited me. Ava replied. She was very persuasive, but I'm glad you're here. The dining room was warm and welcoming. Margaret was there, along with Richard Hayes, Nathaniel's father, and Lucas, who gave Ava a shy smile. Dinner was wonderful. The food was incredible, but more than that, the company was warm. Richard told terrible jokes that made Mason giggle. Margaret asked about Ava's nursing studies, with genuine interest. Lucas showed her his drawings, and Nathaniel watched it all, his eyes often finding hers. She caught him looking at her several times, and each time her heart did something complicated. This was dangerous, she thought. This whole family was making her want things she couldn't have. After dinner, the boys begged to show her their room. It was huge, but lived in, filled with love. Dad reads to us every night, Lucas said, even when he's tired. And we have pancakes every Saturday, Mason added. But yours were better. Nathaniel appeared in the doorway. Boys, time for bed. Say goodnight to Ava. They hugged her tight. Will you come back? Mason asked. Please, Lucas added. I'll try, Ava said, her throat tight. Nathaniel walked her downstairs. The penthouse was quiet, just the two of them. Thank you for coming, Nathaniel said. It meant a lot to them. They're great kids. You're doing a good job. Thanks, Pride. And one. This plus, they're great kids. They met us of the video. And Quest, our game bound. I'm trying, but it's not easy being both parents. He ran a hand through his hair. When I saw how they were with you, how comfortable and happy, I realized what they've been missing. Someone soft. Someone kind. He looked at her. I know what I said was crazy. But Ava, I meant every word. I'm not asking you to love me. I'm just asking you to give us a chance. He reached out and tucked a strand of her hair behind her ear. The touch sent electricity through her. I'm asking you to marry me for real. Say yes. Ava should have said no. But she looked at his face, thought about those boys upstairs and heard herself say, "I'll think about it. Give me a week." Nathaniel's eyes blazed. "A week? I can work with that." He pulled out his phone. "Give me your number. I'm going to call you every day. Take you to dinner. Show you what life could be like." His confidence should have been off-putting. Instead, Ava found it thrilling. "Pretty sure of yourself?" "Not sure," Nathaniel said honestly. "Hopeful. There's a difference." He took her hand. "I don't know what this is between us, Ava, but I want to find out. Don't you?" Ava did. That was the problem. So she gave him her number and drove home, wondering what she'd just agreed to. Nathaniel kept his promise. He called the next morning. "What are you doing tonight?" "Working until 9. "Perfect. I'll pick you up at 9:15. The week that followed was a whirlwind. Nathaniel took her to dinner, to museums with the boys, called her every night, and slowly, impossibly, Ava fell in love. With Nathaniel, with his intensity and vulnerability, with Lucas and Mason, who called to tell her about their day, with the possibility of family, of belonging, of home. On day 6, Nathaniel took her to Central Park. "I have something to tell you," he said, "about Sarah, my wife." He told her about their love story, about her death, about how he thought he'd never feel anything again. "What changed?" Ava asked. "You." He said it simply. "You reminded me what it feels like to hope." He brought her hand to his lips. "Marry me, Ava. Not because you owe me anything. Marry me because you feel this too." Ava's heart raced. "I feel it. But I'm scared." "Me too. Terrified. But the best things in life are scary." Ava thought about Lucas and Mason, about how safe she'd felt at the Hayes family dinner, about this man offering her everything. "Okay," she whispered. "Ask me again." Nathaniel took both her hands. "Ava Jackson, will you marry me? Will you be my wife, a mother to my sons, a partner in this life? Will you take a chance on us?" "Yes," she said firmly. "Yes, I'll marry you." Nathaniel kissed her like she was precious. When they pulled apart, he rested his forehead against hers. "I'm going to make you so happy, I swear it." Ava believed him. The next few days blurred together. Nathaniel took her to Tiffany's. She picked a simple solitaire diamond. News spread fast. Her boss cried. Her coworkers wanted details. The boys were ecstatic. When Nathaniel told them, Mason jumped up and down. Lucas hugged her and whispered, "I'm glad you're going to be our mom." But not everyone was happy. 3 days after the engagement, Diane Hayes called. "We need to talk about you marrying my brother-in-law for his money." They met at a cafe. Diane, Sarah's sister, was ice cold. "I'll be direct. You're using Nathaniel. You saw a vulnerable man with money and swooped in." Ava's hands clenched. "That's not true, isn't it? You're a waitress with no prospects. And suddenly, a millionaire proposes. Very convenient." "I love him," Ava said, realizing it was true. Diane laughed. "You've known him less than 2 weeks. Sometimes that's all it takes." Ava met her eyes. "I'm sorry you lost your sister, but I'm not trying to replace Sarah. I'm just trying to build a life with Nathaniel and those boys." Sarah was perfect for him. "You're not good enough. You'll never be what he needs." The words hit like a slap, but Ava stood with her head high. "Maybe you're right. But Nathaniel thinks I am, and that's what matters." She walked out, but by the time she reached her car, she was shaking. Her phone rang. "Nathaniel, where are you?" "Mom said Diane called you. I'm at the cafe parking lot. Stay there. I'll be there in 5 minutes." He arrived exactly on time, came straight to her car, crouched beside her. What did Diane say? She said, "I'm not good enough, that I'm using you, that I'll never be what Sarah was." Nathaniel's face hardened. "Listen to me. You are more than good enough. You're everything. And you're not Sarah. You're Ava. That's who I want." He pulled her into his arms. "But if you're having doubts, tell me now." Ava looked up at him. "I'm not having doubts. I'm just scared. But I want this. I want you. I want those boys." She kissed him. "I'm all in, Nathaniel. Completely. Then we'll face everything else together." Nathaniel wanted a short engagement. 3 weeks after proposing, they were swept into wedding planning. Margaret took charge, booking venues, hiring caterers. The boys were involved in everything. They picked suits, tasted cakes, argued about chocolate versus vanilla frosting. Ava moved into the penthouse gradually, her secondhand belongings finding spaces among his expensive things. Nathaniel never made her feel less than. He treated her like an equal partner. She gave notice at the diner, but kept taking her nursing classes, determined to finish her degree. 3 days before the wedding, Diane showed up at the penthouse. "Can we talk?" Ava saw genuine pain in her eyes and let her in. They sat on the couch. Finally, Diane spoke. "I owe you an apology. What I said was cruel and unfair." Tears streamed down her face. "Sarah was my little sister. When she died, I felt like I died too. Seeing Nathaniel move on felt like a betrayal." "He'll never forget her," Ava said gently, "and I would never ask him to. I know that now. And watching you with the boys," her voice broke, "you're good for them. I was just too angry to admit it." Ava took her hand. "I can't imagine losing a sister, but I understand grief. I'm not trying to take Sarah's place. I'm just trying to find my own place in this family, and I'd like for you to be part of that." Diane squeezed her hand, crying harder. "I don't deserve your forgiveness." "Maybe not," Ava smiled, "but I'm giving it anyway. That's what family does." They talked for an hour, Diane sharing stories about Sarah. It hurt sometimes, but it also helped Ava understand the legacy she was stepping into. When Diane left, she hugged Ava tight. "Thank you for being big enough to forgive me and for loving my nephews." That night, Ava told Nathaniel about Diane's visit. "You didn't have to forgive her," he said, pulling her close. "I know, but holding grudges is exhausting. Besides, she's family, and family is everything." Nathaniel kissed her softly. "How did I get so lucky?" "I ask myself the same thing," Ava admitted. "Sometimes I think this is all a dream." "This is real," Nathaniel promised. "You're real, we're real, and in 3 days, you're going to be my wife. Nothing's going to change that." Ava believed him, but this moment would change everything, and not in the way she expected. Before we continue with the wedding, I want to pause for just a moment. If you're enjoying Ava and Nathaniel's journey, if you're rooting for this unexpected family to make it work, please take a second to hit the like button. It helps more people discover these stories. And I'm curious, do you believe in love at first sight? Or do you think Nathaniel's proposal was too fast? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single one, and I love hearing your perspectives. Now, let's get to the wedding. The wedding day dawned clear and cold. Ava woke in the guest room. Margaret had insisted on tradition. She lay there trying to process that this was really happening. Margaret brought coffee and breakfast. "How are you feeling?" "Terrified." "Excited." "Like, I might throw up." Margaret laughed. "That's how you're supposed to feel." She sat on the bed. "When Nathaniel first told me he was going to propose, I thought he was insane. But I was wrong. You're perfect for him. You've brought life back to this house." The ceremony was small, just family and close friends. Ava had no one to invite on her side. It should have made her sad. But as she stood in the doorway, she realized she was gaining a family. The music started. Ava took her first step down the aisle, finding Nathaniel immediately. He stood at the front, with Lucas and Mason beside him, all three watching her with pure love. This was her family. When she reached Nathaniel, he took her hands. She saw tears on his cheeks. "You're so beautiful," he whispered. "You're not so bad yourself," she whispered back. When it came time for vows, Nathaniel went first. "Ava Jackson, 3 weeks ago, my sons were lost. You found them, you saved them, and you saved me too. I thought I'd never feel anything again, but you showed me what it means to really live." His voice broke. "I love you. I love your kindness, your strength, how you make my sons laugh. I promise to take care of you, to support your dreams, to be the partner you deserve. I promise to love you with everything I am for as long as I live." Ava was crying openly. "Nathaniel Hayes, I've been alone my whole life. I never knew what it felt like to belong. And then you walked into Rodney's diner and claimed me as your wife." She laughed through tears. "You're insane. Who proposes to someone they barely know? But I'm so grateful you did. You've given me everything I ever wanted. A family, a home, a purpose. I love you. I love your boys. I love this crazy life we're building. And I promise to spend every day trying to be worthy of your trust." "You're already worthy," Nathaniel said fiercely. They were pronounced husband and wife. Nathaniel kissed her like they were the only two people in the world. Lucas and Mason rushed forward, creating a family group hug. Ava Jackson was now Ava Hayes. The reception was joyful. Ava danced with Nathaniel, with the boys, with Richard, with Diane. She felt happier than she'd ever been. But as evening wore on, Nathaniel got phone calls. He stepped away, his expression growing serious. When he returned, his jaw was tight. "What's wrong?" Ava asked. "Nothing. Just work stuff." But she could tell he was lying. Everything felt perfect. She just hoped it would stay that way. The trouble started 3 days after the wedding. Ava woke to find Nathaniel's side of the bed empty. She found him in his office at 4 in the morning, surrounded by papers, looking haggard. "Nate, what's going on?" "It's work. A deal I've been working on for months is falling apart. Investors are pulling out. If I can't fix this, the company stands to lose millions." Ava put her hands on his shoulders. "Can you fix it?" "I don't know. I might have to go to Los Angeles for a few days." "Then go. Do what you need to do. We'll be fine here. We just got married. I don't want to leave you. I'm not going anywhere. We'll be here when you get back." So Nathaniel went to Los Angeles, and Ava was left alone with Lucas and Mason for the first time as their stepmother. It should have been terrifying. Instead, it felt natural. She got them ready for school, made their lunches, helped with homework. They had dinner together every night. She read them stories before bed. I miss Dad, Mason said one night. I will. Me too. But he'll be home soon. We don't need nice things, Lucas said seriously. We just need him and you. Ava's heart melted. You have us both. Always. But Nathaniel didn't come home in a few days. It stretched to a week, then 2. He called every night. Exhausted and frustrated. She could hear the strain in his voice. You're not failing, Ava told him firmly. You're fighting. I miss you. I miss the boys. They could never forget you. Mason talks about you constantly. Lucas leaves drawings on your desk. But as the second week turned into the third, Ava started to worry. Nathaniel sounded more stressed, sleeping less, eating barely. The boys were getting anxious. Mason started having nightmares. Lucas became withdrawn. Ava tried everything. Parks, movies, museums. She made elaborate meals, helped them build forts. But nothing erased their sadness. They missed their father, and Ava missed her husband. 3 weeks had never felt so long. Then on day 22, everything got worse. Ava was making breakfast when her phone rang. Nathaniel's assistant. Mrs. Hayes. Mr. Hayes collapsed in a meeting this morning. He's in the hospital. Ava's world tilted. What? Is he okay? Exhaustion and stress. He's stable, but they're keeping him overnight. He said to tell you not to worry. Not to worry. Ava wrote down the hospital information. Margaret called immediately. I just heard. I'm coming to stay with the boys. You need to go to him. Ava went. She booked the first flight to Los Angeles, her heart racing the entire way. She found him in a private room at Cedars-Sinai, looking small in the hospital bed. When he saw her, he stopped his phone call. I'll call you back, he said hoarsely. Ava crossed the room and took his hand. You scared me. I'm sorry. I pushed too hard. You should have told me how bad it was. I would have come sooner. You didn't have to do this alone. You had the boys to take care of. And you have me to take care of you. Ava's frustration bubbled over. Nate, we're married. We're partners. When things get hard, we face them together. Not you carrying everything. Nathaniel looked at her, and something cracked. I'm used to handling everything alone. After Sarah died, it was just me. I couldn't fall apart because the boys needed me. He reached for her hand. I forgot. I don't have to do that anymore. That you're here now. Ava climbed onto the bed, curling beside him. I'm here. I'm always going to be here. So from now on, you tell me when things are hard. You let me help carry the weight. Okay? Okay, Nathaniel whispered, pulling her close. I'm sorry. The doctors released Nathaniel with orders to rest. Ava took charge, making sure he ate properly, took medications, actually rested. They flew home together. When they walked through the penthouse door, the boys came running. Dad! Mason launched himself at Nathaniel. Lucas wrapped his arms around both of them. Ava stood back, watching her family reunite. But that night, Nathaniel sat her down. His face was serious. Ava, I need to tell you something I should have told you before. Her stomach dropped. What? When I said the deal falling through would hurt us, I downplayed it. He took her hands. The truth is, we're going to have to make significant changes. Sell assets, cut staff, possibly even sell this penthouse and move somewhere smaller. Ava absorbed this. Okay. Okay? Nathaniel looked stunned. Ava, this penthouse, the lifestyle, the money, it might all go away. You married a millionaire. You might end up with someone barely middle class. I didn't marry your money, Ava said firmly. I married you, Nate. The man who proposed in a diner. The father who reads to his sons every night. She cupped his face. That's who I love, not your bank account. Nathaniel's eyes filled with tears. I was so scared to tell you. I thought you might leave. Never. Ava's voice was fierce. Listen to me. I've been poor my whole life. If we need to be poor together, I can handle that. What I can't handle is you shutting me out. We're partners. Whatever comes, we face it together. Nathaniel kissed her desperately. When they broke apart, he rested his forehead against hers. I don't deserve you. Yes, you do. You deserve someone who loves you for you. You deserve a partner, and that's what I am. Over the next few weeks, Ava proved it. When Nathaniel let go of staff, Ava took over cooking and cleaning. When he talked about selling the penthouse, Ava looked at smaller houses with enthusiasm. When he worried about her nursing school, Ava applied for scholarships and loans. You don't have to do this, Nathaniel said one night, watching her fill out financial aid forms. Yes, I do. This is what family means. We all contribute. You've been carrying us. Let me help carry you. The boys adapted too. When Nathaniel explained things were changing, Lucas just shrugged. As long as we're together, it doesn't matter where we live. Yeah, Mason agreed. And Ava makes really good food anyway. Ava laughed through tears. This family, these incredible people, she'd never loved them more. 2 months after Nathaniel's return, he sat Ava down. I found a house in Queens. 4 bedrooms, nice neighborhood. Nothing like this place, but it's good. Ava looked around the penthouse. Okay, when do we move? Nathaniel stared. That's it? Just okay? What else would I say? A house is just a house. Home is wherever we are together. The move happened quickly. They packed up, said goodbye to the penthouse, relocated to Queens. The new house was modest. 4 bedrooms instead of 8. 1 bathroom instead of 5. A small yard instead of terrace views. But it was theirs. Ava set up their bedroom, unpacked the boys' toys, hung their drawings on the fridge. She made the house a home. And slowly, they adjusted. Nathaniel took a position at a smaller firm. Ava continued nursing classes, now juggling homework with household management. The boys adapted to their new school. Money was tight. Ava made careful grocery lists, clipped coupons, learned to stretch every dollar. But she'd grown up doing this. Date nights became movie nights at home. Birthday parties became homemade cakes instead of catered events. Vacations became day trips to free museums. And somehow, impossibly, they were happy. Happier than in the penthouse, Ava thought. Because this life was real. It was theirs. One night, 3 months after the move, Nathaniel found Ava in the kitchen doing dishes by hand. He wrapped his arms around her from behind. I'm sorry. Ava turned. For what? For this. He gestured around. I promised you a fairy tale. Instead, I gave you struggle. Ava cupped his face with soapy hands. You gave me family. You gave me love. You gave me 2 incredible boys who call me Mom. You gave me a home. She kissed him. The rest is just stuff. It doesn't matter. It matters to me. You deserve better. I have everything I need. I grew up with nothing. This, she gestured around. This isn't poverty. This is a home. This is family. This is love. That's wealth. The only kind that really matters. Nathaniel pulled her close, burying his face in her hair. We both got lucky. Now come on. Let me finish these dishes. I'll dry, Nathaniel said, grabbing a towel. They worked side by side, in comfortable silence. This was marriage, Ava thought. Not the fairy tale proposal or expensive wedding. This, standing side by side, washing dishes, building a life together one ordinary moment at a time. And it was perfect. The months passed. Winter turned to spring, spring to summer. Ava finished her nursing degree, graduating at the top of her class. Nathaniel and the boys cheered louder than anyone. I'm so proud of you, Nurse Hayes, Nathaniel said, kissing her. Ava started working at a community clinic in Queens. The work was hard, but meaningful. She came home exhausted, but fulfilled. Nathaniel's career was rebuilding slowly. He wasn't a CEO anymore, but he was good at his job. He came home at reasonable hours, spent evenings with family. I don't miss it, he told Ava. The pressure, the stress. This is better, more real. The boys were thriving. Lucas joined the art club. Mason organized daily soccer games in their yard. They were happy. And then one day, everything changed again. Ava came home from work to find Nathaniel in the kitchen with a strange expression. What's wrong? Nothing's wrong. Something's different. He handed her his phone. In present. In resume. In present. In present. In present. In present. It was an email from Richard Chen, a venture capitalist. The email said he'd read an article about Nathaniel. From penthouse to purpose. CEO chooses family over fortune. It had moved him, reminded him why he started in business. He wanted to invest, big, not just him. 3 colleagues felt the same. Ava read it twice. Is this real? I called him. It's real. He wants to help me rebuild Hayes Industries, bigger than before. That's incredible. Ava threw her arms around him. This is everything you've been working for. But Nathaniel didn't sound excited. He sounded uncertain. What's wrong? If I do this, if I accept everything changes again, more money, more pressure, longer hours, we might move back to Manhattan. He searched her face. Is that what you want? 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 Ava thought about it. About the penthouse they'd left, the luxury they'd lost. About having staff, not worrying about money, opportunities for the boys. Then she thought about their small Queens house, about cooking dinner while the boys did homework, about movie nights on their worn couch, about Nathaniel coming home at 6 instead of 10, about being a family. I want you to do what makes you happy. If rebuilding is your dream, I support you. But we need to be honest about what we're choosing. She took his hands. I like our life now. I like that we eat dinner together every night. I like that the boys see you more. I like that when I come home, you're here. I like that too, Nathaniel admitted. These past months have been the happiest of my life. Then maybe we don't need more. Maybe we have enough. Nathaniel pulled her close. I want to accept Chen's investment, but on my terms. Smaller scale. Better work-life balance. I'll build the company back up, but not at the expense of what matters. Us, Ava said. Us. Always us. Nathaniel accepted the investment with clear boundaries. Flexible hours. Delegation. Prioritizing presence over profit. The money started flowing back. Not overnight, but steadily. Enough to ease financial pressure. Nathaniel offered to move back to Manhattan. We could get a nice place. The boys could go to better schools. Ava looked around their small Queens house. The kitchen, where they cooked together. The living room, where they built forts. The yard, where Mason played. Or we could stay here. Save the money for the boys' college funds. For security. She met his eyes. I don't need Manhattan. I need you. I need this family. Nathaniel's face transformed with relief. I was hoping you'd say that. I love this house. I love this neighborhood. I love coming home to you cooking. And the boys fighting over homework. Then let's stay, Ava said simply. And they did. 1 year after their wedding, snow began to fall. Ava stood at the kitchen window, watching flakes swirl down, and smiled. It had been exactly a year since that storm, since she'd found 2 lost boys and saved them, since they'd saved her right back. Ava, Mason's voice called. Can we build a fort? Please? Yeah, Lucas chimed in. A big one. Ava turned to find both boys with excited eyes. Nathaniel stood behind them, smiling. Nathaniel, smiling. Nathaniel stood behind them. Nathaniel stood behind them. What do you say? He asked. Family fortnight? I say yes. Absolutely yes. They spent the next hour building an elaborate blanket fort. Nathaniel and Lucas handled architecture, while Ava and Mason gathered pillows and snacks. When it was done, they all crawled inside Nathaniel and Ava with the boys between them and put on a movie none of them really watched. Mason fell asleep first, his head on Ava's shoulder. Then Lucas curled against Nathaniel's side. Ava looked at Nathaniel over their sleeping sons and saw her own joy reflected in his eyes. Happy anniversary, he whispered. Happy anniversary. Can you believe it's been a year? Every single day, I wake up grateful that I found you, that I found your sons, Ava corrected with a smile, that we found each other. They sat in comfortable silence, watching snow fall outside. Ava thought about that night a year ago, stumbling through a blizzard, 2 scared boys, her tiny apartment. If someone had told her she'd be here now, married to an incredible man, mother to 2 beautiful boys, living in a small house in Queens, she wouldn't have believed them. She'd thought she was saving Lucas and Mason that night. But really, they'd all saved each other. Ava. Nathaniel's voice was soft. Do you have any regrets about saying yes? About marrying me so fast? Ava thought seriously about the whirlwind proposal, the wedding, the financial crisis, the move, the struggles. Not even one. You know what I regret? All those years I spent alone. All that time protecting my heart instead of opening it. She squeezed his hand. If I could go back, I wouldn't change a single thing, except maybe I'd say yes even faster. Nathaniel's smile was beautiful. I love you, Ava Hayes. I love you too, Nathaniel Hayes. Outside, snow continued to fall, blanketing Queens in white. Inside their small house, a family slept in a blanket fort, comfortable, safe, completely happy. Tomorrow, Ava would go to work. Nathaniel would head to his company. The boys would go to school. They'd have a normal day in their normal life. And that was perfect. Because Ava had learned that fairy tales don't always look like penthouses and unlimited money. Sometimes they look like a small house in Queens. A job you love. 2 boys who call you mom. A husband who comes home for dinner. Sometimes the greatest wealth is measured in love, not dollars. Sometimes the craziest decisions, like marrying a stranger who proposes in a diner, turn out to be the sanest thing you'll ever do. Ava shifted to get comfortable, careful not to wake the boys. Mason mumbled in his sleep and snuggled closer. Lucas's hand found hers, holding on. Her family, her home, her life. 1 year ago, Ava Jackson had been a lonely waitress, working double shifts and dreaming of someday having people to love. Now, she was Ava Hayes, wife, mother, nurse, beloved. And as she drifted off to sleep, surrounded by the 3 people who'd changed her world, Ava smiled. Because she'd finally found where she belonged, and she was never letting go. Sometimes, the best love stories start with the simplest acts of kindness. Sometimes, saying yes to the impossible opens doors to the incredible. And sometimes, a lonely waitress and a desperate CEO and 2 lost boys can find each other in a snowstorm and build something beautiful. A family, a home, a love that would last forever. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. Would you have made the same choices Ava made? Would you have stayed in the small house or moved back to luxury? This is the kind of question I love exploring in these stories. If this journey moved you, if you felt something watching Ava and Nathaniel choose love over everything else, please show your support by hitting the subscribe button. And before we wrap up, I'm genuinely curious, on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate this love story? Leave your rating in the comments. Your feedback helps me bring you more stories you'll love. And that brings us to the end of Ava and Nathaniel's journey. But before you go, I have one more request. If this story touched your heart, if you found yourself rooting for this unexpected family, take just 5 seconds to hit that like button. It makes a huge difference and helps others discover these stories. I'd also love to know, where in the world are you watching from? Whether you're cozied up in New York, watching from London, relaxing in Tokyo, or anywhere in between, drop your location in the comments. I love seeing our global community come together over these stories of love and hope. And finally, if you enjoyed Ava and Nathaniel's tale, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss our next story. We share new heartwarming stories every week, stories about second chances, unexpected love, and the families we choose. Thank you for joining us on this incredible journey. Remember, sometimes the craziest decisions lead to the most beautiful destinations. And sometimes, the family we choose is the greatest gift of all. Until next time, keep believing in love, keep choosing family, and keep your hearts open to the impossible.